You are listening to The Confidence Project, launching at episode 142. Welcome to The Confidence Project. I am your host, Certified Life Coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart women who doubt themselves calm their overthinking brain so they can stop hiding in the background and instead speak up and take confident action. In this podcast, we are shifting your identity. You're becoming a woman who believes in yourself and who wants to live her best life starting today. Hey everyone, I'm back. I'm finally back and the podcast is back. I know I said I would only take a short break, but it ended up being a little bit longer than what I was planning. It turns out I just needed a good long break to really think about what I want to do with my business and how I want to proceed. And also to sit less in front of the computer alone and get myself more out in the world and interact with people. This is something I've been missing after having around 6 years of online business where most of my time is spent in front of the computer screen. So, how you all been doing? It's been like 5 months or so, and I am stunned to see that there are still lots of downloads every single week, even if I haven't published anything since August last year. Wow, thank you for that. That really makes me happy to see because it feels like a validation that what I have been putting out there for so long continues to have value. So, you probably noticed that the podcast has shifted its name and there's a new intro, even though I'm using the same music because I have a license on this number and I really like it. So, I just decided to put a new introduction. In case you didn't notice, it's a new focus on the podcast. And it doesn't mean that all the old episodes will disappear. I decided to just continue on the same account and leave all the old episodes out there because I created 143 episodes about dating, relationships, and breakup. 141 weekly episodes and then 2 extra bonuses. So there are many hours of podcasts with all the stuff I wanted to say about dating. And I kind of feel that I don't have so much more to say about it. And if I do get some ideas, if there's something popping up in the future that I feel is really important, of course, I'm going to share that with you. But for now, I'm leaving all the old episodes out there because, as I said, I can see that you guys continue to download. And especially around the weekend of Valentine's, I could see there was an additional peak in downloads. So, of course, I'm leaving all this in the hope that some of you still find it valuable and that you can go back and listen to some of it. But moving forward, the main focus is not going to be on dating, but I will share more about that in a moment and also in the coming episodes. But first, I just want to share some reflections that I had during 2025 and as I was leaving 25 and entering 26, because I have experienced what I will call the gift of gratitude in 3 big ways this period of time. Now, I know it's going to be a lot about health issues and I'm going to sound like an old lady, but hear me out. Give me a chance here because it's not only relevant for those of you who are over 50. And by the way, I don't consider myself to be old. I'm 56 and I'm totally fine with my age. But even if it's about health, it's not really about diseases. It's about what I've learned from it and that you can learn also without having to go through the same experiences. So that is the reason why I'm sharing it. So those of you who know me, and if you've been listening to all the episodes, then you know that I had a hip surgery back in 24. And actually in November 25, I had a similar surgery on the other hip. So I had hip replacement surgery in both sides now due to early osteoarthritis that again probably was due to a malformation in the hip that I had my whole life without knowing. And this last surgery marks the end of a 5-year-long period of pain, literally every day and almost every night. I realize now that I had gotten so much used to being in constant pain that I never even thought of the possibility of being pain-free or almost pain-free. And although, of course, it did bother me a lot, it was a heavy load to carry. I had bit by bit adapted myself to it. I had worked on my mindset around pain. to not get upset every time I felt pain, to not be frustrated or emotionally drained, but you just notice it like a symptom and try to find the best possible ways to manage the pain, to know what triggers it, and how to live a life with the least possible pain. I had gotten used to the idea that I might be in pain for the rest of my life. Anyways, it wasn't until the 1st of January this year, 2026, when I went for my first walk outside without crutches, and I realized that I literally had almost zero pain. Not only in the hip that was operated, but also in the muscles around the other hip, in my lower back, in my knees. Everything had changed. And that's when it really hit me how much it had been a heavy weight to carry. Imagine feeling pain for every step you take and waking up every night around 3:30 because of pain. You have to get used to it or you will just suffer way too much. You have to integrate it in your life. And then it was almost as if you had this really annoying noise in your ears day and night for 5 years, and that all of a sudden switched off. Just like that. You can imagine the relief. My pain was like 90% gone, and it occurred to me that I didn't even have the courage to hope for that. I didn't imagine that as a possible scenario. And as I was walking the streets of Paris on a cold January afternoon, I just felt such a deep gratitude for finally being freed from this pain and being able to walk around, move freely without something stabbing me or forcing me to limp or just push through the pain. Nothing was stopping me. And I felt like I miraculously got my body back from before all this started 5 years ago. Like if I had a second chance in life, having my full mobility and not being in pain. It was the biggest relief and honestly the biggest joy I have felt in a long time. Being able to walk and do whatever you like, nothing beats that. It's really so fundamental and so profound. And I will say this is what I would call the gift of gratitude. So, gratitude for things you would normally take for granted, like being able to walk without pain and limping. A gratitude that you only feel when you have tried the alternative, when you have been deprived of being able to do that. And it's a gratitude that could sound silly when you don't have that problem, but I want to continue reminding myself, I want to continue feeling this joy of being able to walk around and do whatever I want and have my freedom and have my movement. And just a small but important thing, I now can wear heels again. I've not been able to do that in 5 years as well. And I would like to say it's not really about the heels, it's about getting my own identity back and blah blah blah, but it is actually also about the heels. There is something special about that. Not wearing them all the time, of course, but once in a while, I just feel more elegant and feminine when I wear heels. So that is so cool to be able to do again. The second way I felt the gift of gratitude was that I actually feel really grateful for having perfect vision on both eyes. Those of you who listened last year will also know that I went through an acute eye surgery for retinal detachment. And luckily, everything turned out well, which is not always a given. I also had a retinal tear in the other eye in 24, and that was healed with a laser treatment. Now I can't even begin to imagine what it would have been like if it didn't turn out well. And with the acute surgery I had last year, the surgeon told me just before the surgery that there was a chance of 60% that it would succeed. And I thought that was really lousy, as I had read from a quick research that I did in the waiting room that it was around 95%. I still don't know why she's got that 60% from, but it made me feel very unsafe and anxious. And after the surgery, I had a patch on the eye, and I felt like I could see nothing underneath. And so the next morning, I was supposed to take off the patch myself and rinse the eye, and then go back to a control at the hospital. And I still remember this moment in the morning. I had just gotten out of bed and I was going to the bathroom to take off the patch, and I noticed that there was a little bit of light coming in through a crack between the patch and my nose. And I held my hand up in front of the crack and I could see it clearly, just as clearly as before. And every time I think of this moment, I feel very emotional because I feel very lucky that the surgery worked so well and my eye was healed and I could see as well as I always could. I did have a double vision for a couple of days, but I was so happy and grateful that my vision was saved and I could see. These are two things that are, when you think of it, quite basic and quite necessary for human survival, right? Our vision and our mobility. Being able to see and move around freely. Those are things that most of us take for granted unless we have a specific reason to not do that. But you can choose to practice gratitude for that, even if you've never had a similar situation with chronic pain or retina issues. You still can choose to give it a grateful thought every day and appreciate that you have it and it's working. So the third way in which I experienced the gift of gratitude in 25 is a bit more indirect, because 2025 was the year I outlived or became older than my dad. He passed away from brain cancer when he was only 55. At the time, I was 29. And ever since he died, I've been thinking that there will come a day where I'm going to surpass his age, and that year would be strange to me. Strange to know that I'm now older than he ever was. And yes, it is. But what is even more weird and strange is to now realize how young he was when he passed. We all thought it was way too early and very brutal. But now that I have this age, I really truly understand how early it was. I mean, it's only something like halfway through life, right? And so I know the exact day in 25 when I was 1 day older than him. And when that day came, I felt so much compassion for him and so sorry for him for not getting more of life than what he got. And at the same time, which completely blew my mind, I wasn't expecting to feel this. I felt so much gratitude for having been given the chance to live longer and for still being alive. It was a summer day, and I went to the swimming pool here in Paris late at night, and as I walked back home in the soft, warm summer night, it was like for a moment I felt that all my problems, the heartbreak I just experienced, the eye surgery which had a long healing time, so much longer than the hip surgery, by the way, and the pain I had in my hip and my back, and other kinds of challenges, it all seemed to be, in the big picture, so ridiculously small, as I realized how lucky I was to even be alive. It was like for a moment I got to borrow his thoughts, or as if it became clear to me how he would feel if he didn't have to die, that he got a second chance in life. And for a moment, I felt like I would feel if it had been pure logic that I was never promised more than 55 years. It was never given. So from now on, every day is a bonus. All of my problems just seemed so small and insignificant. I have life. I'm still alive. I get to live and I get to honor that gift. I get to honor my dad who was deprived of all that by living my best life. I remember in the years after my dad's passing, I was always so mad at all people who complained about things because I felt it was so unfair when they got to live, someone who polluted their own life with negativity. And my dad, who would have given anything to just live a few years longer, he didn't get that chance. Those people don't know how lucky they are. Why don't they appreciate that? And so that evening, as I was walking home from the swimming pool with moist hair that smelled of chlorine and felt strangely deep and spiritual and grateful for just being there, a word came to my mind: the bonus life. Like the mindset you can choose to have when you remind yourself of the fact that nothing is given and we were not promised anything. Every day is a bonus, and you get a chance to create the life you want with intention and purpose. It's the mindset of not waiting for someone else to make you happy, not complaining about what you don't have yet, but taking responsibility yourself to make the best out of your life, to not let circumstances block you, but choose to overcome challenges, Decide what you want and who you want to be, and then go out there and create that for yourself. To honor the fact that every day you wake up and you get one more day, and it was never given. It was always a bonus. So that was the 3 ways I felt big gratitude when starting 2026. And it is a gift because it gives you with the appreciation for things you have in your daily life. Choose to appreciate what you have and that you would normally take for granted, and that money cannot buy. Your health, being alive, having people in your life that you love, and then honoring that by living your best life. Take responsibility. Decide what you want to do with your life, and then make a plan to make it happen. Don't just let time go by and say you want to do it next year. Don't put your dreams on pause any longer. Life is too short for that. Now, just so you don't think I've joined a sect or gone into some kind of toxic positivity, I just want to add to that choosing this bonus life mindset, it doesn't mean that you never catch yourself complaining of smaller things, or that you shouldn't set a boundary or be unsatisfied, that you should always be happy just because you are alive. It just means keeping the big picture in mind, the big perspective of how many possibilities most of us actually have in life, and giving it a thought of appreciation and gratitude every day, while at the same time working on growing yourself and achieving your goals. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you because you are my people, and as a coach, I think it's my obligation, it's my purpose, and also my honor to share this kind of reflections with you. This is what I want to continue doing, as it's all related, and it doesn't matter if we talk about dating, career, health, or other areas in life. The way we approach it, the mindset we use to meet challenges in life, that goes across all these areas. Because it's about your identity and who and how you want to be in this world. Choosing an identity of gratitude, appreciation, and responsibility, that goes across the different rooms you find yourself in. And this is all about yourself and who you want to be. And this brings me to say a few words about the changes that are coming and that I feel very energized and excited about. First, let me just say I am not doing dating coaching anymore. It's not that I'm ending that. And if you're now thinking you want my support with either dating or going through a breakup or improving your relationship, then I'm still here for that. I'm just not going to focus only on love-related issues. And the perspective or point of view that I use will shift to be more on how you see yourself and your ability to create the life you want. Now, this could be in your love life. It could be dating or relationship or even the time after a breakup. But it could also be in your professional life, your social life, or with personal goals. I will be talking more about self-confidence, self-worth, self-compassion, self-trust, and self-leadership. About how to stop doubting yourself, how to stop doubting your value, overthinking decisions, second-guessing yourself, ruminating and judging yourself. How to not let fear of other people's judgment or fear of failure stop you from doing the things you want to do. How to stop hiding in the background when you do want to put yourself forward, and how to stop quieting yourself when you do want to speak up and you have something to say. It's going to be very much about building self-trust, having your own back, and moving forward courageously towards the things you want in life. This is confidence, and the main focus is you. How you see yourself and what you are capable of is where everything begins, and it will determine your quality of life and the quality of all your relationships. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it feels so aligned to make this shift, like a truth that was always there, just waiting for me to discover. I, of course, have struggled with these things myself, and I would be lying if I said that I'm totally recovered, no overthinking or ruminating, no perfectionist tendencies, and that I always walk into a room with a high level of confidence. Oh no, that's not true. I can still feel like an insecure teenager sometimes. But I have completely transformed the way I see myself. Gradually, in the past, I would say 15 to 20 years, and then with even more turbo in the past 5 to 6 years after I became a coach. I see when I spin into indecision and overthinking, when I lack the self trust I need, or when I feel insecure speaking in front of a group. And I now have the tools and I have practice in using them, and that makes a huge difference. And I would say being an entrepreneur, running your own business alone, not only exposes a lot of self worth and confidence issues, it really puts a big spotlight on all of them. But it also grows you as a person and forces you to move through discomfort, make decisions before you feel ready, and believe in yourself even when you have absolutely no certainty that you will succeed. I cannot think of anything else that I've done in my life that gave me so much growth. So, no, I'm not perfect, but I have come very, very far. And also know what it's like to doubt yourself and feel stuck when you know what you want to do, but you just cannot find the courage to do it. So, I know I can help you. I hope you're excited about this too. And if it's not really clear to you what it's going to be about, then just stay tuned and keep listening to the coming episodes, because then it will be much more clear. And you will most likely recognize some of the issues I will talk about. And I hope you will find it useful to get some mindset tips and tools to create your best possible life. And so, with this, I want to thank you for listening all the way to the end of this episode. It's been a little bit emotional and very personal for me to share these things, but I hope that you find some value in that and that it inspires you to cultivate gratitude for the simple things in life that are not actually that simple, that are quite important and quite fundamental for your life, but that you might not think about on a daily basis. And I want to wish you a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you again next week. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast, I would be happy if you can give me a rating and a review and share the podcast with a friend. And if you now feel inspired to do this work and become a woman who fully believes in herself, then book a free call on the link in the show notes. I would love to talk to you.